Balsillie. Mr. Balsillie, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Jim Balsillie, presenting on behalf of the Council of Canadian Innovators, and I'll make two observations about the structure of the modern economy in relation to the budget, and then conclude with one recommendation. The accelerated pace of innovation and the digital transformation over the past 30 years has created a new kind of economy in which the basis of wealth and power is derived from the ownership of valuable IP and control of data. Concurrently, the new technologies of this era are centered on the nexus of automated decision-making and machine learning that are reshaping our social and political spaces. Intangible assets comprise 91% of the S&P 500's $28 trillion total value. This shift is unprecedented in its degree and rapidity, particularly with the emergence of high-profit firms with monopoly positions based on IP rights and control of data assets. Wage growth is now concentrated on the small workforces of firms rich in IP and data, which drives inequality. These firms have a low propensity to invest because they generally don't produce tangible goods. Rather, the marginal production cost of their intangible goods is near zero. Additionally, the nature of the taxation system on the profits of intangible assets allows firms to deploy effective tax minimization strategies, resulting in tax base erosion for Canada. Countries around the world, starting with the US in the 1980s, have retooled and recalibrated their prosperity strategies to fit with the shift from the traditional economy to the economy of intangible assets. Canada's prevailing policy orthodoxy, still visible in this most recent budget, is to stick with the traditional production economy strategies for growth, even though such an approach continues to result in weak productivity, lower rankings in innovation indices, and most acutely in the last decade, to a decline in our GDP per capita compared to the US. As the chart in my appendix shows, Canada's deficit on IP payments and receipts is widening at an alarming rate, and this deficit would be much larger if the value of net flows of data were included. In the contemporary economy, the objective is to generate and control IP and data stock assets for their economic and non-economic benefits amidst rivalrous international economies. Canada's prosperity strategies are not only inadequate, but often counterproductive, such as creating FDI agencies and programs that have no contemporary analytical framework, unlike our peer countries globally. A 15-year spree of signing free trade agreements, despite economists writing as early as 2003 that international trade treaties have shifted to dealing with strengthening protection of IP owners rather than traditional tariff reductions. Making enormous investments in scientific research without adequate IP policies and strategies, and 4, underfunded and outdated mandates for critical regulators in the modern day economy, such as foreign investment, privacy, and competition. The federal government reflects an outdated approach to the contemporary economy. It also fails to recognize the real limitations of our institutions. It is irresponsible to pack 270 measures in a 700-page document and expect that they will be implemented, and it's futile to invest enormous public funds without updated frameworks and clear strategies that would yield desired outcomes for Canada. While the risk remains high for turning $1 of taxpayer investment into 10 cents, there's also the risk of continued counterproductive measures where taxpayer funds generate negative returns for Canada. Finally, the redistribution of a fixed economic pie or prudent fiscal anchors many are advocating for are insufficient without a strategy to generate new wealth. Canada urgently needs growth strategies attuned to contemporary realities and budgets to reflect them. I offer one recommendation that can foundationally help improve Canada's budget planning implementation. Rebuild the Economic Council of Canada to create in-house capacity for the analysis of the contemporary economy. The nature of today's global economy requires an unprecedented amount of horizontal integration, analytical depth, and rapid response to deal with the accelerated pace of innovation and the powerful feedbacks and spillovers that emerge in our network society. A properly built economic council would lead to the very necessary revival of our policy community and help the government rebuild critical capacity that favors national interest, including post-COVID economic recovery. In closing, I reiterate that misunderstanding our changed economic realities comes with real consequences to our prosperity, security, and ultimately our sovereignty. Helicoptering money does not work like it used to because the volume of credit needed to produce 1 unit of GDP growth has tripled between 2007 and 2015. And simply chasing jobs with an assumption that of relatively homogenous firms is a race to the bottom strategy that will worsen inequality. Canada has the potential to build back better, but it begins with knowing what we need to build and how we need to build it. Thank you.